Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the show. Good evening, John. I see you've just popped on. So welcome to the show again today. Anyway, we're on to the show today. So I hope everybody down south in our flooded areas are doing okay. I know it's pretty tough during bad weather, but anyway, hope you're okay. Stay good, stay dry. Anyway, where we got up to last week. Last week we spent the whole day or the whole show cutting dovetails with our mini jig. So we're on the mini jig and we're on box one. So the first box we were doing is the small desktop box, and oh sorry, not desktop box, secrets box, but it could be converted to a desktop box. So where we got up to last week was we cut the framework for the three different size boxes. We've got the 7mm, the 8mm and the 9mm. Now the thickness of the material is based around what we can do with our H10 cutters on our H20 template. Mouthful, but anyway, that's where we got up to. What we want to do now is we want to go through, we've got to finish each of these little boxes because each of them has a different style or a different type of lid, but in essence they've all got very, very similar characteristics. For argument's sake, this is what the boxes are going to look like. If I take that out of the way, this is what the little boxes look like. They're all the same size. They've all got a base in them, they've all got feet on them, and they've all got a recessed lid inside the panel. So they've all got that sort of characteristic, but they're all different thickness materials. Now this is not the same as the 7mm we've got. This is one of the A10 ones, but it still has the same characteristics as our normal box. And the normal box for our original secrets box was a lift-off lid with sleeves around the inside. So we're going to do that with our 7mm. And then we came up with our 8mm. It has a raised lid in it, but again it's recessed inside the lid. So we're going to go through that process. And this is a new one that we've come up with, where we've got the frame and panel, or we've taken away the rebate in the top of the smaller box, and we've just put that sleeve straight into the box. The thing about it is it's a hinged lid as well. So again, another different characteristic. So we can do lots of different things with the same box, keeping in mind that a lot of the things that we do to them are going to sort of match up to each other, and we can do them all at the same time. And so that's what we're going to do. So when you watch the video later, when you're trying to, or when you're making the boxes, keep in mind that there are things that we can do on all the boxes at the same time. Of course, the lids are going to be different, the way we cut the tops off are going to be the same, and so forth. So keep all of that stuff in mind. Now, for today, what we have to do is we have to start putting bases in these, putting feet on them, and we can do them all at the same time. It may need a little bit of adjustment now and then, but we'll go through that as we get it done. Now, remember, this is all done with the mini jig. Whoop, something fell down there. Never mind, I can pick it up. Okay, so the first thing we have to do is we have to cut rebates for lids and bases. So for that, we will need our rebate cutter. Okay, so that one there, and a big bearing, and of course we're going to need that. So let's get started here.
And say a quick hello to Jim Wynn from Northern California too.
Oh, howdy, Jim. California. Welcome to the show. Okay, so set that up. Now, as per normal, what we do is we reduce our depth of cut. So take off the little bearing that comes with the router bit and put on a 19mm bearing and reduce our depth of cut down to 1.5 millimeters. And then we'll adjust the height of the router bit down to 10mm to the top of the cutter. Now the base is going to be the same for all 3 boxes. Right? The top is going to be the same for 2 of the boxes. So we'll go through each of those as we go. So our next task is to make sure we've got a bit of safety happening here. So I'm just going to tape these up. Now when I tape them up, and I'll just come in with the camera, you can see that my large or expanded dovetail has to be at the top of the box because that's the one we're going to cut the top off. So when I put the tape on, this is for those of you who are new, I put the tape at the bottom. And usually my face side mark, you can see they've rubbed off a little bit, is indicating where the bottom is anyway. Now what I'm doing here is, when I'm putting that together, I'm actually pulling the tape so I can jam the whole lot together nice and tight. That way it's not going to move. Now the tape is there as a safety barrier, just in case the box falls apart during this process. Again, a little bit of tape around here at the bottom of the box, so that way I know exactly where I am at all times.
So what you're doing is you're giving yourself little prompts.
Exactly.
To sort of bring your mind back to what you're doing. Because it's so easy to get distracted, especially when you're doing a series of them at one time.
The fibre reinforced tape is really, really good for this process. It doesn't stretch. It pulls everything in nice and tight. One of the issues you have with it, if you leave it on too long, it'll tend to get stuck. Or pull the grain out of the piece of timber. So it's nicely put together. So all I'm going to do now is I'm going to rotate it around with that. Now all the 3 boxes are all going to be the same. So ears on everybody. For those people who are new, what I've done there is I've cut a 1.5 millimetre deep trench for the base to go in. It's not deep enough yet. 10 millimetres up from the bottom. Now you'll notice I went backwards. I climb around the inside of that. What it does, that gives me a nice clean shoulder for the trench. You can see they are really, really clean and crisp, and that's what we want to achieve. That way we're not going to have gaps and tear out when we put the base in. Now, one of the reasons that I don't go below 7mm with the thickness of the frame of the box, number one, it looks too thin anyway. And number two, when I cut the rebate for the trenches for the bases, I'm going to end up cutting it into 5mm, and you can imagine if I come in 5mm here, I've only got 2mm of material around the outside of the box. And it's quite dangerous when you're doing this process is to have very little material there, because if you come through the bottom, there's a chance you're going to cut yourself with the end of the router bit. So that's another reason why we do that way. Now, two of our lids will be set at 10mm because the internal material, the material that we use for the lids, that piece there and this piece here, the thickness of those is 10mm as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to use on our 7mm material and our 9mm material, I'm going to turn the boxes over and do the top edge as well. So I hope you can keep up with that. So 7mm, not the 8mm, but the 9mm. We're doing the tops of those as well at 10mm. Now, the top rebate for the 8mm material, the distance from the top is different because of the way we have a raised lid on it. And so that's going to be a different setup. Going to use the same router bit, I'm going to use the same process, but I'll have to adjust it. Now, I don't want to adjust it just yet, because what I want to do is I want to cut my 5mm depth of cut here in all of these cuts that I've already made, so that I can fit the parts into it. So you need to be right on your metal with this, and you need to be thinking about it as you go through it, so that you actually don't make any blues and blunders. They're so easy to make a mistake if you don't keep up with it. I had the bearing somewhere. There it is. So now I put the original bearing back on, and now I'm going to cut the depth to 5mm. Now that will be cut the normal way I would normally cut with a router bit. So cutting against the rotation of the router bit, this time for all 2, 4, 5 cuts. So now I have the rebates cut for the tops of this box, the top of that box, and the bottom of all three, which is what I want to do. Now, before you actually pull these apart, because our next step now is to cut some feet in there, what I want to do is get the measurements for the bases and the lids. I've got a pencil in my pocket. Now when I measure for the bases, normally what I would do is put the ruler in the bottom of the box and measure across, ruler in the bottom of the trench there, and I'd measure across to the side of the box, and I'd do to the inside of the box, and because we've cut a 5mm trench, the depth between the bottom of the trench on this side and the bottom of the trench on that is 95mm. Now I don't want to go all that 95mm because that would make the box nice and tight, but you're not allowing for movement of the box, so take a millimetre off it and come back and it's 94mm. Now you can do it that way, or you can do it this way. Set the ruler on top, set it at 5mm, come across here to your measurement and add 4mm, right? So do that way, and we'll do it this way as well. I'm going to do it 93 by 93, so that will be the lid and the base will be that size. Now because the material is thinner, you're going to have a different measurement for this one. They won't be exactly the same. This one works out at 92mm. I just write on the box, going to eventually sand it off.
And it's soft lead also, isn't it?
92 by 91. And this one here. And all of the lids and all the bases are going to be cut at the same time. So there's another thing that you can actually do together. They're all going to be different as well, so you have to be really, really careful when you cut them. So I've got 90, where are we up to? Really difficult to see in this light. .92 by 93. Measure that again. I just want to make sure that I get it. That's 92 millimetres square. Okay, so we've got all our measurements. Now we can cut some. You can either go two ways. We can either cut the feet, and then we can cut our material to fit all the bits and pieces, which I think we might do in that way. So I might cut the feet first, and then we'll deal with the rest of it later, cutting the material to size. So when I cut the feet, I use a spiral bit, and my spiral bit, people ask me every time I do this, is that an up cut or a down cut? Well, it doesn't really matter, basically because if you have an up cut, well, it's going to throw the timber up towards you. If you've got a down cut, it's going to dump it down on the router. But so really it's a preference thing. So we'll take the tape off, and don't leave your tape on too long when you do this. You can see it actually hangs on quite well. Whoop.
A little bit too well.
A little bit too well. See, it just hangs on that little bit. It's a really good safety aid. See some of the fibres actually come off when you pull the tape off as well. We're going to have to retape the 8mm, but not right in the moment. Let's just cut it, cut feet, and then take it from there. Now I know this is not using the jig every time we do a show, but it's all about box making once you got all the joints cut. Excuse me, might have to have a drink. A bit of sawdust there. So now support your joints while you're disassembling. Now the important thing here is mark. I'm going to do it in pencil so that you see it. I normally use a piece of chalk. What I'm doing here is I'm going to put a cross here and a cross here. That means that those two joints go together, and when I pull it apart and put it back together, all of my trenches are going to line up exactly the way I cut them. So very important that you do that. Now I don't, like I say, I don't normally use a pencil to do that. I use a piece of chalk. I find chalk is adequate, and it makes the job easier to clean off. Often you'll find I use a sharp pencil and that scratches the surface. This pencil I have is a very soft lead. So we just disassemble.
Good old-fashioned tea is in Cole's mug. Brian?
Who? What's he after?
Just wants to know what you're drinking.
Tea, mate.
And not Long Island tea. Just good old-fashioned tea.
I reckon I should have something stronger in there.
No, he was just sussing you out.
Yeah. I didn't get my flat white, Brian. Okay, now here's another important factor, another important thing to remember. I'm going to use a piece of chalk for this bit. When we look at our box, when you look at the piece of the box, you want to make sure you put the foot on the right side of the box, of the piece of material. Now the foot's going to be on the thin end. The fat end is where we're going to cut the top off. That's why we've expanded a joint at the top of the box. So obviously that's got to be the bottom of the box. So if I put a chalk mark where I'm going to work beforehand, give yourself half a chance so that you get it right. So making sure that the expanded joint is at the top of the piece and not at the bottom. You can always use your face side mark as a guide. And I do that with everything. Well, this one here's this one's pretty okay because it's got trench only on one side.
But still
do it though.
Yeah. Give yourself a chance.
Create your habits. Another piece there. That's that side. That's that side. And that's that side. Okay, so that's where all my feet are going to go. Now, when we set up for the feet, choose the thickest piece of material, which will be the 9mm, and use that as your adjustment guide. So all you need to do is have it just above the thickness of the material. That's all we need. And then we need to set up a fence. That was what fell over before, was our fence fell down. Now, a little bit of setup. I'm up to. Haven't seen Derek online this morning yet. I've got a LARK tool already set with the measurement that I want.
By the way, go and show us the little setup for the LARK tool.
I've got a number of LARK tools. So I have these sitting here. I've got these ones set for measurements, so I'm not going to adjust them, but basically they're designed just to set up like that. So
very good. Love the colour.
So I've got a whole heap.
Okay, back to business.
Okay. So what I'm setting that at, that measurement, is a measurement set so that I've got a little bit of material to support the base. Cut the feet out of there. Now the reason I cut the feet in the bottom of the box, two reasons. Number one, it creates a shadow line underneath the box, and number two, it gives you 4 points of contact with the bench. So when you sit that down, you create that shadow line and the box looks like it's sitting up. So they're the reasons I used for the feet, and I pretty much do it to every box that I make. And this is the process that I use. Just set my LARK tool. It's set at 3mm.
This is the fiddly bit, isn't it?
Yep, this is the bit there. You've got to get it right, otherwise you end up taking too much material out and then you've got nothing for the base to actually sit on. Okay, so I've got that. I need one of these just to clamp my fence in place. Okay, so where do we cut our feet? I'm going to use the 9mm as my guide. So I'm going to put, you can choose a measurement. If you're cutting a square box, which is what these essentially are, square boxes, your feet are going to be exactly the same all the way around the box. So they should all be pretty much the same size. If you're cutting a rectangular box, like this one here, this is the longer version of that box. You want a long tooth on the a long foot on the long side and a short foot on the short side. Otherwise, it doesn't look right. So when you sit it like that, you can see that it's quite long, and then when you turn it round, you can see that this is in proportion to the width of the box as well. So it has exactly the same process, with exactly the same idea, but when you're having a rectangular box, long side long foot, short side short foot. So think about that when you're doing them. The measurement doesn't really matter because it's all about personal preference when it comes down to the measurement. I like a reasonable amount of material there. So when I put my measurement on, this is how to do it so that you only have to do it once. So all of the boxes are the same size, the same length, so there's not a problem there. I stand the box up on its side, on its thing like that, with all of the markings away from me, so I can see my face side mark on this side. And I lay it down on its back like that, and I work from my left side, right? Now, I work from the end of the piece of timber, and if I just say 20 mils, or 20 mils there, that looks too small. Let's go to 25. And like I said, it doesn't really matter what it is. It's a personal preference. I like plenty of meat to hang for the base to sit on. So we're all set up ready to go, and we only have to make that one mark. Somebody said to me a long time ago, this is probably your worst enemy in the workshop. The more you use it, the worse it gets, and the more mistakes you make. Sometimes they're right, I think. So, anyhow, I try to sort of minimise how many times I use it. Set my dust extractor up. So I'm ready to go. All I need to do now is push in onto my router bit and then move along. But what's going to happen is the router bit is spinning in this direction. It's going to kick my piece of timber back that way, and I'll probably tear off the foot that I'm trying to save. So I need to put a stop on. I have a stop here. I'll push my stop up there, and I make sure that my mark is on the left hand side of my cutter. Okay, and I'm right up against the stop there. Now I just need to lock that in place. That's steady, and all I have to do now is just to push in on there and move along. Now I haven't got a mark on this end. For those of you who are new to it, I'll show you how I'll fix that. So ears on. She's getting more and more skilled as she goes through the series. And so now, if I just put this together, find the right piece. I'll eventually pull it apart again, but at this stage, you can see now we've got quite a substantial foot in there, and when you sit it down on the bench you can see that there is a bit of a shadow line. Now 25mm, probably a little bit too much for that little box, but anyway, it doesn't matter. It's like I say, it's not a critical point. It's generally a personal preference thing. You'll see that on this box here, they're actually quite small, the feet on that compared to that. So there's a bit of a difference. So whichever you like, you can have a little bit of a play with it if you like, and just do some experimenting and so on. So now what we need to do is we need to cut bases and tops. Now the bases and tops for all of the parts, the bases are going to be 4mm thick, the tops are going to be 10mm thick, and that includes our 8mm one, so we can cut them all at the same time. So let me just pull this apart so that we can set up for it. For those of you who haven't got a dust hood yet, we've still got some. Won't be needing that again today. And a cup of tea. Really, it is tea. Take this out of here. Got a spanner there somewhere. There it is. Get that out of the way. Now the material that I'm going to use, I've already cut one, but I haven't got it the right size yet. So 4mm material, this is the base for my 7mm. I need to cut a top. Now I'm going to cut the top out of the timbers I've got here. I've got rose mahogany and silky oak. So I'm going to stick with silky oak and rose mahogany, stick with those timbers for this. So that's going to be the bottom. And then I've got another piece of silver rose mahogany that I'm going to cut the top out of. So that'll be the two parts for that box. This one here, I was thinking of doing something like this, where I've got Honduran mahogany in the bottom and rose mahogany in the top, but I thought I'd change that for this one. That's the one we're going to cut up, by the way. So I'll stick to rose mahogany for the bottom. Oh no, Honduran mahogany for the bottom. So there's a piece of Honduran mahogany, so a thin piece. And I've got a timber here that I've not used before, and it's got some really nice patterning and colour and various features in it. And I might use that. It's European oak. European oak, European ash. And I thought that might look quite nice recessed into there. So
there's some nice pinks through that.
It's got some pinks, it's got some browns, it's got a little bit of grain feature, it's got all these little splits, which I think are Medullary rays by the look of it. So that can be a bit of the top.
Nice.
And this one here, which is coachwood and walnut. So I'll have a walnut base for that. and we'll might even use a piece of walnut for the top as well. So that one will be predominantly walnut with a couple of coachwood sides to it. So that's the timbers we're going to use to cut all this stuff, get all this stuff up. So let's go ahead and dress all those. So it's a matter of getting yourself prepared, making sure that you've got all your timbers all sorted. Now, the thing that I've done with most of these is I've already sanded them to 320. They've got to get sanded more yet, but they're sanded to 320 while I'm getting more sorted. Often I will sand to sand to 600 before I start. So this is 93 by 93, so I'm in my ruler. So we just do that to 93. I've just got to go and turn another light on, so just hang fire for 2 secs.
That's better, thank you.
You got it? So this one's 93 square. So if I set up like this, put a stop on, I can do all my cuts without having to shift anything. Okay, a piece of that. That will give me 93. And there's a piece off that which I figured was inside the 93. So if I cut those both the same. And there's my two parts, top and bottom, for that box. Now this box, shift that. It's my measurement, 92 by 91. So which way do I want that to be? Oh well, it doesn't really matter, they've both got to be the same. So .92. Can't use the stop for both of these cuts because they're different. So what I can do, set that at 92. Now I'll take a bit of that off. It doesn't, if I get it close in, it's got to be at 91. Like that. There's the two parts for that one, and this one I've got 92 by 92, so I can set my fence. Just that end. My 92. Bring the stop up. Pick the best side of that, which will be the darker side. It's 92 by 92, which is square. And then we have all the parts for this. Now, all of these parts here need rounded corners because of the rebates. The only piece that doesn't at this stage is the top for the box that's going to have the raised lid. All the rest of the parts need rounded corners. That's where we have set up. I'll just take all the parts over here. We have set up my little sander with my radius jig on it. We do have some of these radius jigs for sale, so if you wish to purchase one, by all means, get in contact with us. It makes life so much easier when we can just walk straight to the tool and round over our edges. Now I'm just going to test and see if a couple of these fit. And the best way is just to make sure you've got the right bits going together. Drop that in. got that up. Obviously going to go this way. If they don't fit, well then now's the time to do some adjustment. And what we want is we want all our joints closed up. And I can tell you now that that's not going to work because I can't get the joint closed up. You can see there's a bit of a gap, so I'm going to have to trim the bits down for the big box to a smaller size.
So which method are you going to use?
Just using my drop saw. Just check that to see what I've got. I might have made a poor measurement, which I think I have. Cut it to check my measurement actually. It's 93, so that's a millimetre too big. Or our measurement's 92 by 91, and we're over millimetre over by everywhere.
Okay.
So back to the saw.
So this is where
both pieces because they're both exactly the same size. Well, I thought they were.
this might be the only one where your measurement is a bit dodgy.
Yeah.
Because this was the odd one.
It was. Okay, let me get this right. Just take a tiny bit off the edge of there. Just back to my sander. All you need to do is just turn around then. We're going to try again. So sometimes this needs to be done, we'll need to test. It's important that you get these correct because when you're trying to glue things together and things don't fit, fit that way.
Is that still a bit tight?
No.
It's going to go in.
Just need to put it in the right way around. It's still a little bit tight. I still have to take a little bit more off it. Let's see how far we go down here. It's still a little bit big, and I think I'll get my block out again. I've got a funny feeling it's the radius of the corner is not correct. Yes, I think it is. I'm still going to trim a little bit off though. And I'm also going to change the radius of the corner of the, just a 0.5 millimetre. What I'm going to do here is I'm just going to push my fence a little closer to the wheel.
So it's going to take a little bit more
So take
off.
a little bit more off and give me a bigger radius.
Yep.
What I don't want is the wheel to be touching the... There we go.
Okay, third time's a charm.
As you can see, that it's, as Pam was just saying, third time lucky. It's not a matter of lucky, it's a matter of making sure that when you do measurements, you get them right to start with. Now, I had the measurements right, but what I didn't do was I didn't check my radius. And now that I've got the radius right on those two corners, I've got a perfectly fitting base. Okay, so if the base fits perfectly, of course the lid's going to fit perfectly. So now what I do is check these ones. I'm going to re-radius these ones, or redo the corners on these, and hopefully they'll be right. Take a little bit more off. Okay. We'll need that again, so I'll leave that there. And I'll just assemble these and just check to see that things fit. Always good to dry check. At this point now, we're at a stage where we've made sure that all of our going in, we've made sure that all of the things that we can do as a combined number of boxes we can do. So everything from now on, that's a perfect fit by the way, everything from now on we have to work with the individual box just to make sure that to finish off the box, to get it assembled. So the process that we're going to use to make the lid for the 7mm is a step on itself. The process we use to make the step for the 9mm is a different step, and then the 8mm, there are a number of different processes we have to go through with that one. So it's going to be quite a long process with the 8mm. So at this stage it's just a matter of making sure that you can get things done where you can do all the box parts at the same time. We've done that. Just check to see that that fits well. And it's a perfect fit for that one there. So I got my measurements right. So I didn't quite get the measurements right on that one, but we fixed it. Didn't take very long. And this one here will go like that. So I can put that one aside because that one's going to happen later. What I need to do now is I need to cut a rebate for the lid. So this one has to have a rebate so that I can set it into the trench that we've cut in the box frame. So that's what I have to do now. So I actually will stop there because that's 10 o'clock and
11 o'clock.
11 o'clock. Gosh. It's
They're starting all over.
I'm having one of those days. Anyway, so that's where we're up to at the moment, and as you can see, just getting to that stage, it's taken us a little while, but we've got 3 boxes. Now if you're making a collection of boxes for some reason or other, somebody wants them, you want to sell a whole lot of boxes to a store or something like that, well then you can all make them all, like I say, all of the parts, all of the functions that we've got up to with this part of the box where we've got just the different frameworks, you can do the whole lot together, which we've done. It's just the next process is the individual box. So we do individually cut the top for this, we'll individually cut the top for that, and then we'll go through the process of doing the 8mm afterwards. It's the last one we're going to do. So that will be next week's process. We'll be actually making the lids to fit on all of those boxes, and then we'll take it from there. So that's it for today. Stay dry, everybody. Thanks
safe.
for watching, for those of you who are overseas as well.
We really appreciate it.
Really appreciate the fact that you're going to spend the time with us. So we wish you all a really good week, and hope you have fun. Those of you who are south of us, who are near the floods, please stay safe. Stay out of the water as best you can anyway. So we'll catch you all again next week.